Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, June 23rd, 2013. Victoria has been witnessing Billy making secretive phone calls and in general being secretive for several weeks now. And after having seen him sharing a hug with Chloe, the woman who he shares a child with, Victoria, in I think partly a hormonal place, assumes that Billy and Chloe are having an affair, and that's what all the secretive phone calls are about, and booking hotel rooms, and she automatically jumps to the conclusion that Billy is having an affair, and she confronts Billy about it, to which Billy at first just played it off like, nah, of course I'm not having an affair. He just very smoothly says, oh no, that's not it. But when she insists, he starts really trying to convince her that no, that's not the case. Of course I'm not having an affair. Of course Billy would never cheat on his wife. Oh, he would lie to her and put her life in danger by gambling, but he would never cheat on her. In fact, he would gamble, put her life in danger, and then pick up gambling again. But he would never cheat on her. Of course not. He's committed to their marriage. He has an illness with the gambling, right? Ugh. Billy, the ways in which Billy has screwed up in this marriage, I can't even count them on my fingers. They're mounting. Honestly, can you say that you would want your daughter married to Billy Abbott? Because you know that when Victor gets back from Tuscany, whenever he gets back from Tuscany, he's gonna sniff out that there are these huge problems in his daughter's marriage, and he's going to rub it in. He's gonna tell her, why, sweetheart, why would you get involved with Billy Abbott against my advice? I told you he was no good. You can't trust Billy Boy for anything. And he's gonna make her feel like Victor was right about Billy all along, and it's gonna totally destroy her self-esteem. That's gonna happen in the weeks to come, but for now, Victoria doesn't know what to think. Billy decides that he has no other choice. If Victoria is assuming that he's having an affair, he would rather her know the truth than go on thinking that he's cheating on her. So he fesses up, says, no, honey, here's what's happening. I'm actually gambling. And the ultimate irony, he finally tells the truth. She doesn't believe him. She tells him, I can't believe that you would even pretend to have a gambling addiction in order to cover up the affair. She is zeroed in on the fact that he's having this affair, and she's not going to believe anything else. She sends him away, says, I think you better find some other place to sleep tonight. And it's clear that the problems in their marriage are really coming to a head. And it's not just about Billy's gambling. She has her problems in the marriage too, and her shortcomings. She's so all about baby, and it's kind of sucked some of the romance out of their sex life and in their home life. So she sends him away, and she ends up the next morning having a really good conversation with Jill. I have to say, I was very pleased to see Jill back on the scene this week. She looked lovely, really good hair. Her hair looks really good right now. Loved the sky blue jacket she was wearing, just looking totally awesome. And I appreciated that she was being frank with Victoria. Victoria opened up, told Jill pretty much everything that was going on, and Jill did a wonderful job of showing some motherliness and some sensitivity in return. And then of course she went to Billy and practically wanted to slap him up against the side of the head. But Victoria is so paranoid right now, and it was really only fueled by another conversation that she had the next day with Abby. Now I just have to say, excuse me, I love that Y&R has extended Victoria and Billy's house to include that little dining room, that little kind of eat-in, or the little tiny dining room off to the side. And Victoria was having a conversation with Abby over some iced tea. And they even shot that room from a different angle, or they kind of shot it so that it showed into that little nook. And it was just really cool. They had this gorgeous glass bowl in the center of the table. I love that they were just having iced tea and hanging out. That gave me a total Midwestern vibe, which I love, of course. I'm Midwestern. So it was really nice to see Victoria and Billy, or Victoria's kitchen, just kind of see her in a different place. And unfortunately though, Abby is winding Victoria up. If Victoria thinks that Billy is having an affair, Abby just cranks her in the right way, tells her that she's got to confront Chloe. It's of course not about Billy. Victoria has to go to Chloe and put down some pressure on her, and Victoria goes to talk to Chloe, to confront Chloe, and when she shows up, Billy is there, and they are yet again sharing a moment. Chloe's having problems in her marriage. Billy's having problems in his marriage. They have a child together. They're just kind of talking. Billy was, in fact, even asking Chloe maybe for some help to try to help him with his relationship with Victoria, and Victoria just walked in at exactly the wrong moment, and she really, knowing the truth, made an ass of herself. It looked really bad. Chloe was completely taken aback, like, you think I'm sleeping with Billy? You're completely off. It just made Victoria look really bad when Billy is the one who should be looking bad. And he's scrambling now. He realizes that Victoria is on this. She's latched onto this affair thing. She's not letting it go. So he decides he's gonna prove it to her that he's not having the affair by showing her the gambling website that he's been on. And when that doesn't work, he drags her around town to try to convince her. And first stop was on the boulevard where Carmine is bartending, and Billy shows up, tells Carmine, look, my wife here, it's time to tell her the truth. Well, just tell her. Tell her about the after hours gambling games we've had here. Tell her about the poker games. Tell her everything. I want her to know. And Carmine, being Billy's employee, assumes that he has to keep the secret. So Carmine says, oh no, no, no. I tell you, he rubbed it in too. It was not only, oh, Billy never would have a gambling game here. And furthermore, every night when he closes up this place, he looks forward to going home to you. Just really laying it on thick. I don't know why Billy would even think that he could count on Carmine for anything. And the same goes for Adam. Billy drags Victoria around to Adam next, and he, knowing that Adam has been holding this secret over his head for weeks, thinks that Adam is gonna be doing him any favors? I don't think so. He says, go ahead, Adam. I'm trying to be honest with my wife now. Go ahead and tell her everything about the gambling. And of course, Adam, now that Billy wants him to tell, of course he's not gonna tell. And it just makes Billy look so bad. I don't know why you would expect Adam to do what he wants. It's kind of obvious that Adam would do the opposite. And the whole thing kind of gave this boy who cried wolf sort of effect. Like nobody is really believing him now that he's trying to tell the truth. The lie was just too solid. He had it all planned out, and now that he's trying to tell the truth, it's not working for him. So Billy says to Victoria, please, I'd love to believe that our relationship is not in as bad of a place that you would believe Adam and Carmine over me. But Victoria doesn't know what to believe. She's forgiven him for every other bonehead thing that he's done, so I'm almost assuming that sooner or later she's gonna forgive him for this. I mean, why should this time be any different? Chloe is witness to an awkward moment at the coffee house between Lauren and Carmine, and Chloe figures out that Lauren had an affair with Carmine. She just deduced that, and I thought that was a really interesting little scene because Chloe had this experience with Carmine where he threw her in the trunk of a car, and Carmine's a bad guy and Chloe knows it, and Chloe felt, I think, very, well, first of all, offended that Lauren would get involved with him of all people after what he did to her. But I think also Chloe's like, you would cheat on your amazing husband with Carmine? It's kind of everybody's reaction. If you were gonna have an affair, you would think it would be with some incredible business guy or somebody she met through work, but no, the bartender. But it created this animosity between Chloe and Lauren Lauren had no choice but to face it. And she just, you know, said, I did it. And in fact, Lauren mentioned Chloe's past with Billy and Kane and all of the horrible things she had done. So Lauren kind of threw it back in Chloe's court and said, you know, you're no angel either, so don't sit in judgment of me and Carmine when you've done some pretty bad stuff too. And I liked that also because it's so easy to forget that Chloe used to be a bad girl because she's so whitewashed now. And so I thought that was just something that was a neat little scene. Of all of the people finding out about the Lauren and Carmine affair, I hadn't thought much about Chloe, and it was interesting. So last week it seemed like Chloe and Kevin were done. I was fully convinced that they were done. And then this week, Kevin comes crawling back. Damn it. Because I was so ready. Yeah, I was like, let's move on. And he says he'll do anything to get back in her good graces. And she decides that she's going to give him another chance. All he has to do is, well, first of all, he needs to volunteer. Kevin needs to show that he cares about other people and volunteer at a homeless shelter, help the less fortunate. And he went from saying, I'll do anything, to saying, really, I gotta do that? She's throwing him a lifeline here. She's saying, this is what you can do to get me back, and he's complaining about it. Like, he's so busy between volunteering at the police station and working, not even owning, just working a job at the coffee house at this point, and he doesn't have the time to go volunteer. Whatever, I think he can volunteer his heart out, but that doesn't change anything. His heart's not in it. She's forcing him to pretend that he's a good person when it's kind of the opposite of where his heart is right now. So whatever to the volunteering. But the funny thing is, just almost like a child that got caught stealing, Chloe makes Kevin go back and return all of the goods that he stole. Like, can you just imagine him with a bag of jewels just dumping it off on the person's doorstep? Or maybe he broke back in, I don't know, to return the stuff. That would be double stupid. But Detective Chavez is on this whole case. I don't know if he's gonna catch Kevin or not, but you know, he's of course perplexed that the thief went and returned all of the stuff, realized that the thief must have had a conscience, and confronted Kevin about it. So he knows it's him. It's this weird cat and mouse game where Chavez knows that Kevin did it, and Kevin's just waiting to get busted. It's hard to understand Kevin's mentality. I think he wants to be the bad boy, but he seems to want this second chance with Chloe even more, and I feel surprised that she did give him a second chance. I guess that when Detective Chavez eventually busts Kevin, sends him to jail, and then falls in love with Chloe, that way we won't be able to say that she didn't at least try to give Kevin a second chance. What was it, last week or the week before, that Lauren told Carmine, and I quote, "Go away and never come back"? What part of go away and never come back does Carmine not understand? The second Michael leaves the apartment, Carmine shows up at Lauren's doorstep and he starts saying these gross sentiments like, "You've ruined me for anyone else. We're meant to be." And then he just forces a kiss on her. Oh, it made my stomach turn. And as soon as they kind of pulled apart, turns turn around and Fen is standing there. Fen has seen the whole thing. Been waiting for Fen to find this out. It doesn't take very long for him to realize what's happened here. He asks his mom, are you having an affair with him? And she says, no, I'm not. But Fen figures out, you mean you're not having an affair with him now? I mean, Fen has taken upon himself a lot of the guilt for what's happened in his parents' marriage, and now he's realizing that it was something entirely different. And watching Fen's reaction, watching his realization unfold on his face was very satisfying to me. I felt sorry for the poor kid. He's spent so much time blaming Michael for everything that went wrong. He was so angry with his father, and now he's realizing that it was actually his mother that caused this problem. I mean, the tables turned at warp speed in this kid's mind, and it was really good to finally get to see that. Now, meanwhile, Michael, he's out getting a special dessert for Lauren. He's pretty much walking around on cloud 9 thinking he can get his life back on track. And as soon as, like, I almost got the vibe from Michael, like he felt that the past few months never even happened, just for a brief moment. And then he gets home and Fen tattles on Lauren right away. You almost think maybe he'll keep the secret, but no. As soon as Michael gets home, Fen says, yeah, I just saw Mom kissing Carmine Basco, and Fen's trying to contain himself, and I think Michael's trying to contain himself, and Lauren is trying to decide what she's gonna do, and Fen is so upset. Even though Michael had this very calm reaction, I think he wanted to trust Lauren. They've been doing enough work on their marriage to where he didn't disbelieve her right away. So Michael tried to come at it from a calm and understanding perspective, like Fen, it's what's in the past. He wanted to encourage Fen not to be mad at his mother. Even I think it might have even come from a place of, I don't want to ruin the relationship of my son and his mother. But Fen is not having it. Fen rushes out. He doesn't want to be around his parents, doesn't want to look at them. But he did go out and confront Carmine. It was a little bit wimpy, though. I almost expected Fen to just be like, you betrayed me, you act like you were my friend and you weren't. But it was a little wimpy. I think Carmine was trying to explain himself, like, I wanted to tell you, I don't even remember what Carmine said, but it just felt like it was not as big as I expected that to be, although I'm sure we'll be seeing that reaction a little bit down the road. Now, Lauren and Michael are back at the apartment together, and they're actually talking. Honestly, as soon as Fen left, I expected fully that Michael was going to be done with her, that this was his last straw. They're trying to get Carmine out of their lives, they're trying to get their marriage back on track, and next thing he knows, they're kissing. And the situation with their son is even worse. But Michael had a really just loving, I think, kind of reaction. He knows that they're both trying, and he knows that Carmine is trying to cause trouble. So I don't know, I'm really proud of Michael and Lauren for not using this as an excuse to give up, because that could have very well been the end. But Michael, after Lauren explains, I told him not to come back and he's still persisting, and the same thing happened a couple of weeks ago with the flowers. It's kind of obvious what Carmine is doing, and Michael sat back and he said, I think Lauren wanted to go off and, whatever, say something, confront Carmine again or whatever, and Michael wanted to too, but he said something real ominous like, I'm ready to teach him a lesson that he will never forget. They both want him to go away, and I think it's laying the groundwork, obviously, I think, and I think everybody can see it at this point, for Carmine's murder. But it was a very interesting twist that Michael and Lauren stayed together through yet another one of Carmine's attempts to break them up. Now, there was another really good scene, I thought, between Lauren and Jill this week. It has been so long since we've seen Jill that I just really appreciate her every time I see her. And she's, again, just looked really good. But Lauren is going through such a difficult time, and she really has not had anyone to talk to. She's tried to talk to Phyllis a little bit, but Phyllis is not the calm friend that you really need. I liked Lauren talking to Jill, and even though I never felt comfortable with the storyline that they ended up being sisters, that always made me, I in my heart still have always felt like Jill is Catherine's daughter, and I thought it was just tacked on that all of a sudden Jill is a Fenmore, but just in the context of can't change it, I did enjoy the interaction between Jill and Lauren and just being sisterly. It was nice seeing sister time between those two, and Lauren opening up and telling Jill what had happened. And gosh, Jill just was basically in town this week to hear about the affairs that they thought that were going on, or that thought were going on. So Michael and Lauren are trying to weather this storm, though, and the therapist had suggested that they go on a first date together just to get to know one another again, and it was kind of cute. They were out at the restaurant just talking. I thought it was really ridiculous that they would go out on a date. Of all of the restaurants in town, they would have to go out at the place where Carmine works and bartends. Of course, we've really only got 2 restaurants in town, and Carmine bartends at both of them. But here they are trying to talk to each other as if they've just met, and they're really just trying to getting to know each other on a fundamental level. And Carmine works there. All of a sudden, this bottle of champagne shows up at the table. Michael assumes Lauren ordered it. Lauren assumes Michael ordered it, and they both realize simultaneously that it's Carmine. I mean, like, they both look back at the bar, and Carmine's just standing there with this smirk on his face, and he's holding up that Queen of Hearts card. Just, blah! It's so obvious what he's doing. What can he, it's almost torture at this point, because he knows that, he has to know that he's not going to get back together with her. He's got to know that. So why continue to try? It is really escalating to a stalking level, and Lauren wants to go over and rip his head off. I don't blame her, that's what I wanted to do. But Michael is trying to be very calm. He doesn't want Carmine to win. He doesn't want Carmine to see that he's getting to them. He wants Carmine to see them as a cool, calm, collected couple. So Michael just picks up that bottle of champagne or wine or whatever it was, and he just dumps it right into the container that's holding it, like the ice bucket, just dumps it all out. And there, you know, Carmine sees it, and it's this awkward moment, but, you know, Michael says, I want to remain united so that Carmine gets it through his thick skull that he's not going to be able to break us up. He's not going to be able to shake us, to rattle us. But in my mind, I just keep thinking, hey, you know what goes really well through a thick skull? A bullet. I want, especially after that smirk with the card, holding that up behind the bar, I want to see Carmine in a pool of his own blood. To violently murder Carmine. I'm sorry, but I just do. I'm ready for him to die, and I'm ready for the whodunit. I think this is probably my favorite storyline, and I'm curious to know how it's going to unfold. Carmine deserves it. He's just asking for it. After Michael dumps the champagne and they have that standoff, Carmine actually comes right up to their table. Can you believe that? And he acts like, oh, I just wanted to, you know, have a peace offering. Sorry if that champagne offended you. I just wanted to give you a peace offering. They know that that's not true. Why else would he be standing there with the card? That's not the truth. Like, the balls on this guy. I almost can't believe that he would walk up to the table. He is so outrageous. He must have to, like, have some kind of special underwear to carry around his huge balls in. Phyllis looked incredible this week, regardless of how you feel about Phyllis. Good night. That dress she was wearing, it was like, it was insane. Like, it was this all black gown, but it was almost like half like on one side it was a gown and on one side it was kind of a mini skirt. It was so amazing. She looked so great. And this week, I don't remember what day it was, maybe Wednesday, was Michelle Stafford's final day on the set. And it is really hard to imagine this summer paternity storyline unfolding without Phyllis. She is irreplaceable. They're not going to be able to recast the role. So Phyllis is just not going to be there. How is the storyline going to have enough steam without her? I definitely worry about that. But for now, she's still there. Phyllis and Nick have to figure out what they're going to do to keep, not only to tell the truth to Summer and to Jack, but to keep Summer and Kyle apart. And Phyllis is very insistent that they tell Jack and Summer now. Enough time has been wasted. She wants the truth out there. So they arrange this meeting at Jack's house where Nick and Phyllis are going to tell Jack and Summer. And Summer comes over and she feels like her parents are kind of ganging up on her again. She assumes it's going to be a lecture about Kyle, and she doesn't want to hear it. I mean, it's going to be a lecture about Kyle. It's just not exactly what you think it's going to be. And Nick is starting to have cold feet. He is looking in Summer's eyes, and he's realizing that this is going to rock her world. The man who she's seen as her father this entire time, who rocked her to sleep at night, who told her bedtime stories, Supergirl, you know, that is all going to get wiped away. And not only is it going to rock her world as far as knowing, you know, that her father is on her father, but that her father lied to her and deceived her. It's going to be levels of reaction from Summer. It's going to take a while for that to sink in. And so Nick decides he just can't do it. And he runs away. He says, I can't do it, I'm sorry, you know, I mean, he plays it off and just runs out of Jack's house. And Phyllis, I don't know why she doesn't just tell the truth on her own. Instead, she goes and follows after Nick back to his house to try to find out what's up. I mean, I understand that Nick doesn't want to pull the trigger on this, but the larger issues, you better do it sooner or later before any incest babies are conceived here. I mean, they need to get that going, but he really strongly feels like he can't do it and doesn't want to do it. And Phyllis is, I mean, Michelle Stafford again was really good this week. Her emotions are just, I think, tied up in knots. She used to love Nick, and now she's standing in his living room screaming, I hate you! I hate you! For doing this. You know, she feels probably betrayed, well, definitely, she feels betrayed that Nick didn't make the marriage work out, that he's dating her sister, and that is, it's wrong. I mean, I do feel like my opinion on Nick is affected by what he's done, but, you know, not only the issues in their marriage, but now on top of the whole thing, she's finding out that that he lied to her intensely, deeply about the paternity of their child. He lied for so long. So that was the intensity that I was kind of looking for between Nick and Phyllis. That was the moment where it felt like it really blew up, because Phyllis has been in mission mode. Just, we gotta tell Summer and Jack, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this. And she felt like in that moment, she finally was able to express how she was feeling and acknowledge how she was feeling. But Nick is trying to convince her not to tell. Summer is a wild child. Summer has had a lot of problems since she's been, recast. She's gotten herself into a lot of trouble with the car accident and the bullying, and it seems like she's always on shaky ground. So Nick and Phyllis reluctantly, agree that they don't want to tell Summer, that they're not going to tell Summer, and therefore they can't tell Jack. But they don't want to tell Summer because they don't want to push her off track. They don't want this to send her into a spiral now that she seems to have gotten her life together. But it's in and of itself is unfortunate that they've raised a child who is too immature to handle the truth. I mean, I think it's a mistake to not tell her. In terms of the show, I'm kind of glad, but in terms of reality, I think it's a mistake to not tell her, and I feel surprised that Phyllis agreed to that, because a couple of months ago, Phyllis was the one who was all about how Summer was able to handle stuff, that Summer's an adult now, and she was all about having faith in her daughter. Nick was the one that didn't seem to really trust her, and so I'm surprised that they came to this conclusion, and the whole thing was so intense, and it really, in some ways, the way that Summer's birth affected and put the final nail in the coffin of Nick and Sharon's relationship, finding out that about Summer's paternity is the final nail in the coffin of the relationship between Nick and Phyllis, because Phyllis used to love him unconditionally. He was the one for her, and now it does seem like she's had it with him forever. So for now, they've decided just to keep this secret. The hatred is seething beneath the surface. But I think that Summer and Kyle are headed down a path that, even if it doesn't result in a sexual relationship, it's still unhealthy and is still gonna be scarring. Because what's worse, sleeping with your brother? I can't believe I'm saying this. What's worse, sleeping with your brother or falling in love with him? I mean, maybe you could chalk the sex up to sex, but when you've had an emotional connection that you felt was developing into love, romantic love, that's gonna be harder to wash away, I think. That's always gonna be scarred on your brain. So I don't know if it's a good idea just to keep it from them, because Summer, by the way, has this troublemaker friend who's just pushing her in the wrong direction, just giving her all the wrong advice, really pressuring her to have sex with Kyle, to go through with it. And I think Summer is not emotionally ready. I think she would probably have sex not even necessarily so much on the mind if it wasn't for this best friend giving her all of this bad advice. I mean, for crying out loud, while you're giving bad advice, why not just tell Summer to go out and sleep with a couple of guys beforehand, just so that you'll be plenty experienced when you go to sleep with Kyle? It's really horrible. This friend is bad news. Summer needs to dump her. But now that Phyllis and Nick have decided not to tell Summer, they also have to find a practical way to keep Summer and Kyle apart. So Phyllis decides to pull a fast one to get Kyle to go to Chicago on a trip with her. I like this. I have to say, I like this. I was afraid that the Summer paternity thing was just gonna blow up really quick and then sort of fizzle out, but I like that this is becoming a slower burn than originally thought. So Phyllis is going off to Chicago with Kyle, and there was this moment between Phyllis and Jack right before they left where Jack said to Phyllis, hey, you never know, you might go to Chicago with Kyle and he might just fall in love with find an older woman and he'll forget all about Summer. Y&R's been laying the groundwork for Kyle's crush on Phyllis for quite a long time. I really like that maybe they're bringing that back around. Phyllis is gonna go to Chicago with Kyle, and the motive is to keep Kyle apart from Summer. Is Phyllis gonna sleep with Kyle? To keep him away from her daughter? That would be juicy. But I would also say, I mean, you never know with Phyllis, but it seems like it would be a little deliciously extreme. Oh, I got a lot of really good voicemails that you guys left me this week. 309-588-4569. I think you get like 3 minutes before the beep. And I got some really awesome voice messages, comments about the show from you guys. Connor called in and made a really good point about the comparison between what's going on with the summer paternity, Nick and Phyllis and Jack, and comparing that to what's going on with Chelsea and Dylan and Adam. And it is really similar. It's almost like Chelsea is at that fork in the road where she can either choose to tell the truth or she can go down the path that Nick has gone down. I think that's a really good point. And another point that Connor made is that there's a very good possibility that Avery is not going to be able to look at Nick the same way when she finds out that he did this. There's obviously something on Nick's mind. He doesn't really want to tell Avery about it, but she knows something is up. She knows that there's a secret in there. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think Avery is going to be able to forgive him when she finds out the truth? Because I think that all of this is leading toward a Nick and Sharon reunion. And I wonder if Avery is really going to resent that Nick couldn't be honest with her. It's almost like I think Avery won't be able to handle it, but Sharon will somehow understand. Sharon will be there to pick up the pieces. Now, Nick wants to tell Avery. In fact, when he's having that I hate you conversation with Phyllis, he says, can I tell Avery? Or I think actually Phyllis said, did you tell anyone else? Please tell me you didn't tell anyone else. And Nick said, no, but I want to tell Avery. And Phyllis was like, no, don't even go there with me. You are not telling her what's going on with this. And frankly, I agree 100% it would be incredibly wrong for anyone to know before Jack and Summer. They deserve to know the truth first, for crying out loud. And Phyllis makes the point that you don't really want to put Avery in that position. Avery and Summer are close, and even though they're still niece and aunt no matter what happens, I mean, there's nothing's going to change that. Nothing's changed in their relationship. You don't want to put Avery in a position of having to lie to Summer. So Nick reluctantly decides not to tell Avery, but Avery comes over and she's in wedding planning mode. He just proposed to her before all of this paternity mess kind of took over his brain. And she realizes that he's not really into it, and she throws just a little bit of a fit. I mean, I don't blame her there either, because Nick is just not receptive. He doesn't want to really talk about the wedding. And she kind of answers the question for him of what's wrong by assuming that it's just that Nick doesn't want to have a really big wedding, so they're going to keep it more private. She's, I think, grasping. I think she knows he's keeping something from her, and he's said as much, that he's not really ready to talk about what's bothering him, but she's kind of making up excuses to make herself feel like it's not her. And you know, I don't blame her for wanting to know, but Nick just plays it off. And I think he's going to continue to keep the secret from Avery, but I'm a little worried that Sharon is going to end up saying something. She knows the truth about the paternity, not that Nick has told her, just she figured it out. And she just has this look about her that she's just waiting around for the whole thing to blow up, and she's going to have this front row seat with popcorn for the whole event, and she's going to swoop in and pick up the pieces for Nick. And Avery is going to start to detect that, because there was a preview for Monday's show that Avery is going to confront Sharon and just say, you know, Sharon, you seem like you're taking a little bit of an extra interest in Nick lately. What's that all about? And also, Sharon had this encounter with Jack at the bar, and she looked at Jack like she was just giving him the, I really know what's going on look. As in, if Jack knew what was going on with the paternity, Sharon wanted him to know that, I know. I know all about it. But that's not the case. But the way she accidentally almost told Phyllis a couple of weeks ago, or accidentally almost told Jack just now, I'm worried that Sharon's gonna just blow this whole thing sky high. And, by the way, Sharon, oh, girl, how can I make this more clear to you? Stay away from Carmine! She's back at the bar this week, and they're getting all cozy. You need to stay away from Carmine. And, frankly, while you're at it, stop sleeping around. Adam had dinner with the almost Chelsea girl again, the legal assistant that's part business, part pleasure. He's flirting with her, she's flirting back. Part of me wishes that Adam would just get involved with someone else. I don't know. I mean, because I'm not interested in him and Chelsea having a reunion. I almost wish Adam would fall in love with somebody else so that Chelsea doesn't get what she wants. I don't want her in the end to reveal the truth and then live happily ever after with Adam. That's boring, and I don't like them together. But then again, miserable Adam is, I think, more interesting than happy Adam. I mean, even though I'm mad at Adam right now, if I had to choose between going back to him being all super syrupy with Chelsea or him being this cold-hearted snake, I guess I'd pick the cold-hearted snake. There's something that's just more intriguing to me about Adam as the king of misery than it is Adam being Mr. Romantic. So this week, Adam is going to be very heartbroken to learn, I'm sure, but he won't show it, that Dylan proposed to Avery. He set up this, or I'm sorry, did I say Avery? That was a Freudian slip. He proposed to Chelsea. He set up this romantic evening in his loft with a bouquet of tulips and candles and probably dinner, and he has this section of the loft kind of walled off with a drop cloth, and he's looking all like, oh, nervous and stuff, and you don't really know what he's gonna do. I wasn't personally expecting it. Chelsea comes over and they're all being cutesy, and he says he's gonna show her this little area, thinking it's gonna be maybe a baby room, or he says he's gonna show her some colors that he's picked out for the baby room, and she pulls down the drop cloth and it's painted on the wall, "Will you marry me?" So he tells her, he goes on to tell her he loves her. She feels overwhelmed and like she doesn't deserve the kindness that he's giving, but no, she does deserve it. He's in love with her. That's why he wants to marry her. I don't know how Dylan can love Chelsea when he loved Avery just a couple of months ago. I think the real question here that I think everybody should answer for me this week, this is like the question: would Dylan love Chelsea if she wasn't pregnant? Is that what is fusing them together? I think that's a really good question. So Chelsea, I don't know if she's just overwhelmed, but probably because she's lying and she knows that it's all based on a lie and that she's roping this poor guy into a lie, into a marriage now a marriage based on a lie. They've only been dating for what? A couple weeks? Anyway, she tells Dylan she needs more time. She needs to think about it. And so Dylan sort of rushes out of the room. He says, yeah, I gotta go get some paint for my truck. I'll be right back. But he's walking away because she broke his little heart. But by the time he comes back, she surprises him because she's written yes on the wall beneath his question proposal. Will you marry me? She writes yes. Do you guys think that she sent him away on purpose so that she could write it on the wall, or while he was gone she decided that it would be a good idea? I'm curious to know what you guys think about that too. Okay, so I guess now Dylan and Chelsea are going to be getting married. I don't know if they're going to make it to the altar. I don't know how long she's going to keep this secret. I don't see anything on the horizon that's really threatening to bust it up. Adam seems to have let the trail go cold. He's sort of accepting, I think, wishing and in the background that Chelsea and Dylan wouldn't work out. And I think he'd be perfectly happy to raise the baby even if it wasn't his, but he doesn't seem to be pursuing the paternity issue. I don't know why. He just dropped that. But so I don't know. I guess that secret is safe for a while, and I guess they're gonna at least try to get married. I don't care. I don't know how many other ways to say this. If Chelsea, you don't love Dylan if you're lying to him, okay? Love is a big, broad term, but inside of it are terms like honesty. You cannot love someone while you are lying to them on such a hugely fundamental level. And it is interesting to now consider what's going on with Dylan and Chelsea and Adam in the context of what had been going on with Nick and Phyllis and Jack, because if you say that of Chelsea, you really have to say the same thing of Nick. Did Nick ever really love Phyllis if he was lying to her? I guess probably the answer would be no. I mean, if it's good for one, it's good for the other. But in terms of viewing, I think that the difference is, as a viewer, that with the Nick and Phyllis situation, it was left open. You know, I mean, of course we were all always wondering if, what Summer's real paternity was. But as an audience member, we didn't know for sure. It was left open to interpretation. With Chelsea, we know that she's lying, and she better back off before we end up 18 years down the road and she has to break Dylan's heart, break Adam's heart, and break her child's heart. Leslie and Neil are embarking upon this Nancy Drew mystery. I am having trouble connecting with this, to be honest with you. I think maybe I don't love Leslie. I've warmed up to Tyler, but there's something about Leslie that I just don't know that I love, and I don't feel any kind of romantic connection between Leslie and Neil at all. They seem like just really good friends to me, and they're trying to figure out this mystery of who's stalking them. Neil decided to put out an open letter to the stalker, and there are all of these weird little hidden clues, like the last, what was it, the last letter that the stalker wrote included some line from Streetcar Named Desire, and it's so mystery, clue, and I don't know. It's not that it doesn't make sense, it's just that I'm not that into it, to be honest with you. But Neil decides he's gonna, write that open letter to the stalker, and the stalker just writes back, and Leslie's looking for clues and all of that. The stalker said something to the effect of like, you're gonna pay. You've conveniently, Neil, swept things under the rug, but you're gonna end up paying. It kind of had that whole I have a grudge against you, Neil vibe. And I mean, Michael actually called in and left a voicemail for me this week and made a really, really good point that it would be great if the stalker was actually Sophia. That would make sense. Sophia did get screwed over by Neil. Neil acted like he wanted her and caused her to break up her marriage with Malcolm. She was happy with Malcolm, but then Neil acted like he wanted her. They fostered this relationship. They had Moses together, and then he turned around and didn't want her. So I wouldn't blame Sophia for wanting to get back at Neil. But then there's also this whole Rose thing. I cannot make the connection. I do not know. Leslie was able to get into the lockbox of Gus's this week, and she found inside the lockbox a copy of Gus's will. Well, I don't know how, what Gus would have possibly had. He was an inmate for the last 12 years. When did he write the will? Did he write it while he was in prison or before? He really doesn't have anything. Neil even said, half of nothing, still nothing. So because, I'm sorry, I'm not doing a good job of presenting this storyline because I'm not that enthused about it. But Gus left this Rose person half of whatever he had in the will, of which he has nothing. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then also in the lockbox there was this picture of Rose and some writing on the back that suggested something deeper. It said something like, I've never forgotten and I never will. I guess that's in Rose's handwriting, and Leslie has made this connection between what the stalker's response to Neil's open letter was, also said, I've never forgotten and I never will. It's such a stretch, you guys. That's a part of it. It's such a stretch, and Neil's like, I don't know, Leslie, that seems a little far-fetched. But she's on her little Nancy Drew kick, and she's gonna figure out what the mystery is. And she believes that there's a connection between Rose and the stalking that's going on. And there was this brief scene of like somebody taking more pictures of Neil and Leslie, and then there was a computer screen with Rose's picture up as a screensaver. Well, I can't imagine that Rose would have Rose's picture up as a screensaver. So I feel like the Rose thing is just a red herring. I wonder if it's got to be someone else, and if it's not Sophia, who else would have some kind of a deep, long grudge against Neil? And then I think back to around the time that Gus died, Leslie started asking Neil a little bit about his parents and what the deal with that was. And I thought at the time, I wonder if we're going to see Neil's parents, because even Wikipedia did. I don't know anything about Neil's parents. I did the whole Wikipedia on Neil Winters, and I didn't see any mention of who his mother and father were. So I wasn't watching at the time when Neil came onto the show immediately, so I don't know if they've ever really talked about Neil's family. So is it possible that this is going to be a bridge into, I don't know, could Neil's mother or father have some kind of bitterness against him? Maybe because of what he did to Malcolm? I have no clue, you guys. Devon and Tyler are about to fist fight this week. There is not a match made in heaven, them working on this Jabot project together. It is not happening. Tyler resents Devon for not being Lily, and Devon knows that Lily and Tyler are sharing a personal relationship that could threaten her marriage. And even though Devon never really liked Kane, he still wants Lily's family to stay together. So it's very awkward back and forth between them, and they get into such a heated argument at Chloe and Chelsea's studio that Chloe called Lily and said, you gotta come down here and take care of this and break up this fight. And she did. She really shouldn't have. She, in fact, left a romantic dinner with Kane to go referee this issue between Devon and Tyler, where she really has no business. She needs to let the boys figure it out on their own. And Devon is very bitter. He wants Lily to just admit what is going on with her and Tyler, at least admit it so that she can try to move on, but she doesn't want to. She goes to see Tyler, and she's at his apartment. She finds a bra lying around, and she obviously is very jealous. I think she heard the whole line that Tyler was given to her about how she was special and they were really connecting, and she wants to believe that it was true, but now ever since then she's seen Tyler sleeping around, and it makes her feelings for him feel cheapened to think that he's just maybe saying all of those things to every girl. But at the same time, I think she's having a really hard time getting him out of her mind. And Lily and Tyler, you know, she kind of confronts him, and they have sort of just another whole big wad of awkwardness. They sort of want to be together, but they really can't be together, and it's complex. And everybody knows it. Everybody sees it, I think, except for Kane. Kane saw it coming down the pike right away, but then he got distracted with his job. He's gonna get distracted with his sexy new assistant, and it just sort of got backburnered. But their relationship is it's struggling. They're having a harder time finding time for each other, and they're having a harder time finding quality time with each other. And Neil ended up coming over and breaking up the argument between Lily and Tyler, because he and Leslie wanted to talk to Tyler about Gus's will and everything and all that jazz. So Neil, after Lily left, realized that she didn't have any business there. Why is my daughter at Tyler's apartment? So he follows her and he confronts her, and Lily again just denies. She needs to admit to herself what's going on and then realize that she really only has two choices here. She either needs to acknowledge her feelings and move on with Kane, or she needs to just move out. I just have to say a quick note that I thought it was funny this week that Alex, who is like Genoa City's most underused guy right now, he's got personality and hots way out the wazoo, and YNR barely uses him, but he's having this conversation with his partner this week at the police station, and Abby starts to realize that maybe they're a little too close. She doesn't like it. I mean, Alex is so basic. He's such a basic guy. We established that last week, you know, when, you know, the little quips about the shirt that Tyler was wearing, and then this week they were talking about coffee, and Abby wants to order these complex coffee drinks, and Alex just wants a coffee, and so does his partner. Like, Abby is realizing that she and Alex are very freaking different, but at the same time she still wants to mark her territory, so she gave Alex's partner a little bit of hell, like, you know, stay away from him, he's my man. And Alex is very committed to his job. He you know, gets a call and he has to rush off, and he's with his partner, who's a woman, and Abby's kind of naturally jealous. She after Alex has to leave her to go work on a case or whatever, she goes to the athletic club and meets Tyler at the bar, and they start talking, and Alex ends up kind of walking in and seeing Abby and Tyler talking, and I thought, well, Abby and Tyler, hey, why not? So, did you guys end up watching the daytime Emmy Awards? Kind of seemed like Y&R didn't win a whole lot of stuff. As far as I know, they didn't get any of the writing or best show. I think Days of Our Lives kind of cleaned up this year, it seemed like, with actors and with the behind the scenes stuff. I don't know, I don't watch Days, but apparently it's good right now. I don't know. I think Bold and the Beautiful is really good right now too. I was very happy to see Heather Tom won Best Leading Actress. She totally deserved it. She was excellent. But for Y&R, Doug Davidson won the lead actor role, and I thought that's just wonderful. He did such a great job with everything that was going on with Ricky. He deserves it. The way he played those scenes was so just shameless. I mean, it was just like, this is what I'm going through. I believed it. I connected with Paul fully during those scenes, and he didn't care if there was spit flying out of his mouth in the scene. That just made it more real. Like, I remember he was practically foaming at the mouth during the scene where he had to shoot his own son. I mean, those were some heightened, incredible moments in Y&R, and I'm really happy to hear that he won that. He certainly deserves it. I thought it was a little awkward that Best Supporting Actor was a tie between the guy that plays Liam on Bold and the Beautiful and our own Billy Miller, Billy from Y&R. Do they usually do ties? They were just like, they couldn't decide? They were like, yeah, both these guys are so great. I mean, I watch both shows, and I think Liam on Bold and the Beautiful gets way more screen time than Billy. I'm almost kind of surprised that they didn't just give it to Liam. I don't know. But then again, you know, I haven't been as big of a Billy fan lately, but the actor is, of course, excellent. So, that's it, though. I guess that's all we won? That's all she wrote? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where we are next year. Probably Michelle Stafford will be up for something for her last. And she had her last day this week, so that was, we're probably going to be seeing the last Phyllis scenes here within the next month. But the casting update that I really wanted to talk to you guys about is Michael Graziadei, I hope I got his name right, Daniel is coming back onto the show. What do you guys think about that? Y&R has had a hard time writing for Daniel for a really long time. I mean, he was on the show for like a year doing nothing. And now he's going to be back. I don't know if he's going to be with Heather. I did read that they were casting a new lawyer. I don't know who it is. So I don't know if maybe they're recasting Heather. I have no clue. But Daniel is definitely coming back. And to me, this signals just more evidence that Nick and Sharon are going to be getting back together. I mean, what was it, 2 weeks ago that we revealed that the actress who plays Cassie is coming back to the show, and I don't think it's just for a ghost scene. I think that's part of a larger arc. I think that's going to be a major deal. So Cassie's coming back, and now Daniel's coming back. I think Cassie's coming back, you guys. I don't know if it's going to be actually Cassie or maybe Cassie didn't actually die. That seems way too far-fetched, but I wonder if there's going to be a girl who looks like Cassie and just is on the set now or just there, and it's going to reunite Sharon and Nick, and I wonder if Daniel's going to hear about that and come back into the town, but it feels connected to me. What do you guys think? Okay, my Y&R friends, that's gonna do it for me for this week. So now it's your turn to go ahead and leave me your comments. There's a text box below. You can type out everything you're feeling. I always love reading your comments. It's always a pleasure to chat with you guys. I think that The show is getting interesting with the paternity storyline and the Michael and Lauren, and those are the storylines I'm really feeling right now. There's some secondary stuff going on that I'm not too excited about, and I keep trying to get into what's going on with Neil and Leslie, but I'm struggling with it. I want to. We'll see. I always keep holding out hope that maybe Drusilla will come back, but I don't know. I think Victoria Rao might have burned some bridges. I don't know, but like now that Michelle Stafford's gone, you'd almost kind of wonder if maybe she could come back. I don't know. I need some, strong, I would love to have a strong woman in there, and Leslie's just not doing it for me right now. I don't know. But anyway, the rest of the show is really good, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say about it. So please don't be shy, and check back next week. I'll be back next Sunday to chat again about our show. So everybody, take care. I love ya.